Hey everybody. So I wanted to do a video today to share with all of you what I think are some really, really amazing opportunities in the estate planning world, and just my thoughts on how and why this is a really, really great practice area for lawyers who are thinking of having a more flexible practice going forward, a more profitable practice going forward, having a practice that they can run from anywhere. I think estate planning is the smartest law firm practice area in 2026 and beyond. And I'm going to share today why I think that that is the case. I'm filming this in 2025, but you know what? We're going to be in 2026 before you know it. And I think that now is kind of the worst time that you could possibly be putting your head in the sand about how many things are changing and really what opportunities are going to be available to us as attorneys. So this is going to be, hopefully for many of you, a somewhat inspiring video, whether you move towards estate planning or not, or whether you enroll in our 2-hour lifestyle lawyer course or not. Hopefully there'll be a lot of nuggets in here that'll be helpful, I think, for lawyers who are just trying to get a little bit of clarity on what's possible, what you can do. That's what this video is going to be about. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Laura Cowan. I am the creator of the 2-hour lifestyle lawyer, which is the community that you're on here. So before we dive in, everyone should take a look at my book, Lifestyle Lawyer Revolution: Live a Life You Love Without Leaving the Law. This recently made Amazon International bestseller status, which I'm really, really proud of. You can get a copy of the book at lifestylelawyerrevolution.com, or you can get it right from Amazon. This is a book, by the way, that I wrote after practicing law for about 10 years. And you'll see in the book my whole history, but I went to law school a little bit later in life. I went to law school at age 35. And prior to law school, I had a whole career as an accountant, basically, and like a personal executive assistant to people who ran hedge funds. I had a couple of jobs pre-law school where that was my job, and that was back in the BlackBerry days. But I was on the BlackBerry 24/7, just like I'm on the phone 24/7 now, and who knows what will be 24/7 in the future. But this is a long way of saying I did a bunch of really cool, interesting things before I went to law school. And then I went at age 35 and graduated and started my own law firm around age 39. So this is a book that shares a little bit of my backstory and a little bit of how I got to where I am now, which is a law firm owner who has an estate planning practice in New York City. It's boutique. I limit the number of clients that I see every month to 4 or 5, to be honest. And then I spend the rest of my time building out other businesses and doing other things that are interesting for me. But this is a book that talks all about my history, how I got to where I am, how I started my practice in 2016. Now it's just about 10 years later. And really, it gives a lot of tips and exercises and a different way of thinking about being a lawyer. That's really the main purpose of the book. I didn't want to write a book that was fluff. I'm a big anti-fluff person. And so many of the books that I see out there that talk about how to be a better lawyer or how to run your law practice, they seem to be filled with a bunch of, do what you love and the money will follow, or, just be a little bit braver, do what scares you. I think that's fluff. I don't think it's helpful. It might be true, but it's not really helpful. So I think what you'll find when you read the book is a different, unique perspective of living a life you love without leaving the law. And this is a book that's interesting, I think, for all lawyers, not just estate planning lawyers. And in fact, many people who've read it who aren't even lawyers to begin with found interesting things about it. So take a look at my book. I hope you'll find it helpful. I should say, I hope you'll find it helpful. So this is what I want to share today. The opportunity. We're going to go through 4 things today: the opportunity, the considerations, the takeaway, and I'll learn a little bit more about 2HLL. That'll be towards the end. The reason I mention opportunity right off the bat, I see almost everything as an opportunity. And I think that that's a good way to go through life. If you're an entrepreneur, like I am, and like many of you on the call, certainly if you're a lawyer who's thinking about building your own practice, you're entrepreneurial. You may not realize it, but you are. When you're not an entrepreneur, you see opportunity everywhere. And this is something that I didn't notice as much before I started my own business at age 39, because I'd worked a whole bunch of years for a whole bunch of other people. And I didn't see as much opportunity working for other people. But now that I've got my own business, and I have for over 10 years now, I've now got 3 businesses, my law firm and a couple of others. I see opportunity everywhere. And there has never been a better time, in my opinion, to, if you are an attorney and you're looking for a change, to maybe add in trusts and estates to your practice area. We'll talk about that as we go, why I think that there's such a big opportunity here for lawyers. The considerations, how to get started and what to avoid. This is the next question. Maybe you've decided, I know that I want to do estate planning. I'm interested in learning more. I'm going to do some research. The nice thing about the coaching programs, we'll talk about on this call, is that you have a lot of options these days. And so I'm the founder of 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer. We're going to talk about 2HLL on this call. But the good news is there's other options. And I think that I try to be very transparent about saying this. It's just like picking a restaurant or a gym or a fraternity, a sorority. There's going to be different options. And you need to pick based on the things that are important to you. And maybe you don't know what's important to you, but you'll find one that fits for you. We've got a great community at 2HLL, but I like to point out that there's other communities, and that you as an attorney should have the freedom, I think, to pick which communities make sense for you, which program makes sense for you, and maybe even take a bunch of them. I've taken pretty much every program under the sun, and I use little bits and pieces from each one. So we're going to talk about how to find a good coaching program, whether that's 2HLL or someone else. The takeaway, 5 questions you should ask before signing the check. And then we'll talk a little bit about our business, our brands, and how we can work together. And I always like to finish that little pitch with, even if 2HLL is not a good fit for you, we have a lot of interesting things that are coming out that are designed to help lawyers, not just estate planning lawyers, but lawyers all over the country, having a life and a practice that they love. And so stick with us, even if this isn't your thing. We'd like for you to be a part of our network anyway. The opportunity, the practice of the future. So I'm recording this in late August of 2025. Who knows what the future will be? Even in a month, I feel like things are just changing at the speed of light. AI, for those of you who are on the call and are new-ish to AI or new-ish to the practice of law in a way where AI might actually be really relevant to you, is changing everything. And I shouldn't even say whether it would be relevant to you, because it's going to be relevant to all of us. What I really mean is using AI at a law firm where it's now just another tool. That's great. You're going to look at AI one way, if that's what your certain spot is. You're going to look at AI completely differently once you hang your own shingle. That's what I'm really trying to get at here. Because once you hang your own shingle, it's no longer, oh, I can use it to review contracts, or I can use it to get this project done faster. When you hang your own shingle, you're going to be looking at AI as, this is where people are going to be going to find a good lawyer, and I want them to find me and not my competition. And I'm really clear about that, and clear about how this is the future, and 2HLL is moving lawyers towards that kind of a model, because that's going to benefit you in the future. Not me, you. Okay, so the opportunity, the practice of the future. Flexible. This is a really flexible practice area, and it really wasn't before. 2019 up into 2020 was everything was in person. So I launched my practice in 2016, and up until March of 2020, I live in New York City. Everything shut down overnight in March of 2020. So that means it wasn't that flexible before. It wasn't that flexible before. And what I mean by that is clients were expecting to meet you at your office. We had phones, obviously, back then. We even had Zoom 6 years ago. But it wasn't what I call socially acceptable to hire an attorney via Zoom. Did it happen? Of course, but it wasn't the norm. Well, now it's the norm. What is also the norm, because now your clients are not expecting to see you at your office, that means if you do a call from your hotel room on vacation in Cancun, which hopefully you're not doing because you're on vacation, but the point is, you can do it from your vacation in Cancun, and your lawyer, your client rather, is not going to know. And more importantly, I would say they're really not going to care, right? They don't really care anymore. As long as you're available, you're doing the work, you're responding to emails. These are things you should all be doing anyway. Your clients really aren't going to care. Now, let me step back and say, if you're serving seniors, for example, then maybe they do want an in-person attorney, okay? So I'm not saying that this is the case in every instance. I am saying if you're thinking of hanging a shingle, doing estate planning, or other kinds of law, trademark, contracts, there's a lot of things you can do. Your clients no longer care if they're sitting down in front of you at the office. In fact, they probably don't want to have to get in their car and drive downtown and meet you at the office. So this is a very flexible area. The big shift, again, we can do it virtually now, whereas we used to be tethered to the office. This is a profitable practice area if you do it right. And I'm going to say if you do it right, because this is a nice area where you can charge a flat fee. And you can put a lot of systems and processes in place. And that really matters because once you dial in your systems, your processes, and those are sort of humming in the back behind the scenes, it allows you to, number one, just start showing up with full energy and full intention. I know that I struggle having energy and attention for my clients or anyone that I'm serving when I'm all over the place and things are not organized, and I know that I'm not making the best use of my time because I don't have systems and processes in place. And then once I sit down and I get my systems and processes in place, then it's like a weight has been lifted, and now I feel that I have all of this energy to really focus and show up for my clients. That's what makes it profitable, by the way. Let me take a step back and say, what is profit? It's not revenue. Lesson number one in today's call: profit is not revenue. Revenue is not profit. That's what I should really say. Revenue is not profit. Revenue is the carrot that I think is dangled, especially by a lot of these coaching programs that we're talking about today. And it's a big shiny carrot that looks so appealing because we all want to see a bunch of zeros coming into our bank account. That's why we're in business. Okay, so it's not wrong to want to see a bunch of zeros come into your bank account. What I've noticed in, 20 years of being a business owner and working on Wall Street, et cetera, is that a lot of attorneys don't understand there's a big difference between revenue and profit. If you're looking at getting into estate planning, you need to understand that a $5,000 estate plan, it's first of all, it's a big win. Congratulations, that's a big win. You've gotten a client that wants to hire you for their estate planning. They want to write you a check. That in and of itself is a huge, enormous accomplishment. Okay, so that's a big deal. Congratulations. The problem now is, well, you've got to serve that client and serve them in a way that gives them an estate plan that is fabulous and legally solid and solves their problems. And you need to do it in a way that they're now going to be willing to leave you a 5-star review. If you're taking that $5,000 and a big chunk of it is going towards overhead and marketing because you don't have your marketing dialed in, maybe you're paying an expensive coach, maybe you don't have your systems dialed in, so your profitability tanks because you end up spending 3 hours on the phone with a client who wants you to explain the rule against perpetuities, and you weren't prepared for that, and so now you've just wasted 3 hours of your day because you didn't have systems in place and a process that literally says, this is how much time you're getting, this is a flat fee, anything beyond is going to be additional. Okay, this is a very big roundabout way of saying it doesn't matter how much money you're bringing in. You can bring in $100,000 a month in clients that are willing to hire you, and that's great. That means you're really good at selling, but it's not going to help you if you're now overwhelmed and exhausted because you're working to serve all of those clients. Some are not happy, so they leave you a bad review. That's not profit, right? You can actually bring in the money for the month and end up in the red. Many, many lawyers do not understand this. And why would they? They don't teach this in law school. Okay. So this is a very profitable practice area, assuming you're doing it right. And by doing it right, you're dialing in your systems, you're saying the right thing at the right time, you're setting expectations. Now you're charging the 5,000 and you're bringing home a big chunk of that without wasting a lot of time that could be spent generating more revenue. Growing. This is not going to go anywhere. There's a big wealth transfer, and I think that's actually our next slide, the opportunity. Why now? There's a massive wealth transfer going on. There's a lot of money being passed down to generations as people age. The demand, you might not believe this, but in my opinion, this is what I see. Again, opportunity everywhere. Maybe the demand before was just for a good estate planning attorney. Well, the demand now is I want an estate planning attorney who's AI savvy. I want an estate planning attorney that can both show up to our consultations via Zoom and give me the legal advice and the counseling and the listening and the advising that I'm paying for, because I'm not going to get that through ChatGPT. But I also want to make sure that I'm not dealing with a lawyer who's got their head buried in the sand with all the things that are going on with AI, because I'm kind of hoping that my lawyer is doing stuff behind the scenes that increases my experience and my outcome and everything for me, kind of like I would hope that my doctor behind the scenes is using whatever it is that doctors do behind the scenes, is using AI to enhance that so that he or she can sit down in front of me when we meet at the appointment and actually focus on helping me. Okay, so I think that the demand, forget about, oh, is there going to be a demand for estate planning lawyers? Yes, there's going to be a demand for estate planning lawyers. That's not going to go away, in my opinion, at least in the next 5 years. And we'll talk about why that is as we go through this, but I don't think the demand is going to go away. I think the demand is going to shift. It's going to shift from, I just need a lawyer, to, I know what I'm looking for now. I'm looking for a lawyer that's trustworthy, that's honest. These are all things that are super hard to find on Google, maybe a little bit. You can Google, you can poke around, but AI is actually revealing a lot faster, you know, what lawyers are trustworthy, who has a good reputation, et cetera. So these are things that the community is looking for. Right now, what I think I see is just mass confusion, not just in the estate planning world, but just life in general. You know, I'm old enough now to remember when the internet first came out and when email first came out and where it is now. And what I frankly see now is the internet as being like this giant ocean full of garbage. And some of the stuff in there is good, right? But the rest of it is just garbage. And it didn't used to be like that. It is now, in my opinion. There's just anyone can put anything out, anyone can put anything on YouTube, anyone can say anything. There's goods and bads about that. That's not really the point here. The point is just to say things have changed. Everything is now online, and it's a big mess. And I think that consumers, and think about this for yourself when you're thinking about, well, where do I go to find a good cleaning person, or where can I go to buy this TV? It's not that we can't get information about it. It's that there's too much information and people are overwhelmed. I'm one of them. So I think that this is a huge opportunity. I think this is an opportunity for lawyers to have clarity, to provide real guidance in a sea of bots and bad information. And I don't even know where to go to start. This is an opportunity, everybody. So if you're on this call and you're thinking, well, no one's going to hire me because they're just going to go to ChatGPT, I respectfully disagree. Some people are going to go to ChatGPT. It's the same people that would go to LegalZoom or would try to DIY their will back in the day. Okay, I think that there's plenty of business for lawyers who recognize the changes that are coming and are ahead of them. And if you're one of those lawyers, I don't think that you're going to lack for business. That's my personal opinion. So this is what we're teaching in the 2HLL community. So estate planning is a great practice area. This video is not so much to kind of talk about why estate planning is so great. Look at some of my other videos. I will say that the lawyers in our community, and we've served almost 600 of them by this point in the 3 years that 2HLL has been around, they come to us because they want the things I have just mentioned. They're tired of litigation. We've got a lot of recovering litigators that are tired of the schedule and the lack of control and just the constant conflict and the fighting. Family law, we see a lot of that. Other litigators, right? It's just draining emotionally. Estate planning is a really nice transactional in some ways, although we like to teach it as being a lot more than transactional, but it is a transaction, right? This isn't litigation. So that means you've got a whole bunch of options about your schedule. Most of the lawyers in our community are charging $2,000 to $6,000 per an estate plan. Many are charging much more, depending on how complicated the situation is. All of our lawyers are working either virtually or hybrid, and we've got a really, really great community that I'm really proud of. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. But just note, there's a lot of coaching programs out there because coaches and business owners like myself and entrepreneurs and lawyers have figured out other lawyers need help with this. And if you've set up a system that's working in your own law firm, then that means you can coach other people on it. You're allowed, right? So that's great. I think this is a good thing. I think it's a good thing that 2HLL exists. There's, 3 or 4 others that you might see that are competing with us. Each one has their own pros and cons, their strengths and weaknesses. This is really a phone call or a training rather, just to make you all aware that there's options out there, which is a good thing. It means you get to pick what's going to be best for you. How do you cut through the noise, however? So this is the hard part. The hard part is deciding, because all of these programs, mine included, are an investment. They're a financial investment. And so that means you deserve clarity on what it is that you're investing in and what you're going to get back. So we want to make sure that you understand the things to ask and to look for so that you're making good choices, not only for your law firm, but that's going to be impacting your family, right? This is a buying decision that's going to impact your family, hopefully for the better. And it's going to be, in turn, a decision that impacts your community. You as a lawyer are a leader in your community. If you're doing estate planning for families and individuals and business owners in your community, that means you're a leader in the community, okay? And so you need to be making good choices about not just what's going to help your bottom line, which is very, very, very important, and I get that, but also recognize that these choices are going to have an impact on how you live your life, how you interact with your family, and how you interact with people in your community. And that's something that you should be considering as well. Some of the things that you should look for. So let me point out here, and I see we've got a question in the chat here. I'm just going to double check this. Okay. So let me just point out here, if you're on the call and you're thinking, I want to learn how to do estate planning, what do these different programs offer? Like, what are we even talking about? Because what I've learned after doing 2HLL for 3 years is that very few people, or fewer than I'm expecting, come in actually not being all that familiar with various coaching programs. They haven't really enrolled in anything like this before. And I have to remind myself that because I've enrolled in like every course under the sun. I love taking courses. I take courses not just within the legal community, but within bigger entrepreneurial communities. I'm trying to get as much information as I can from as many people as possible so I can structure my own businesses and my own offerings. So what is an estate planning program? What are we even talking about? The content is going to be the same, whether you take 2HLL or one of the other programs out there. There's only so many ways to teach this or to do it, quite frankly. Okay. You can get into the nitty-gritty and you can talk about how one lawyer does it slightly differently. But at the end of the day, there's only so many ways to teach estate planning. And all of these programs are going to teach some variation of what we're looking at here. How to get leads, how to get people in the door. Okay, if you're just hanging your own shingle and you're brand new and you're used to getting a salary, which was me for the first 39 years of my life, I never had to worry about getting leads because I already had the job and I knew that I was going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks. Stress gone. I mean, I had other kinds of stress, but that kind of stress wasn't existent. Well, it's existent every single day as a law firm owner. Okay, so this is a big question. Of course, at 2HLL, we teach you how to get leads, how to host a consultation. I'm going to go through these a little bit more quickly. How to host a consultation. I've never hosted a trademark consultation, for example. I've never hosted a consultation for someone who's interested, who needs personal injury. I've never hosted a consult for someone who just got their 3rd DUI. I don't know how to do any of those things. I do know how to host an estate planning consultation. So these courses are all going to teach that, or some variation of it, how to price your services, how to learn the law, how to set up workflows, how to get the estate plan sold. Number one, that's not easy, but then now you've got to get it designed drafted, and signed, all in a way that leaves your client saying, where can I leave you a 5-star review? This was the best process ever. Okay, a lot of these programs are going to teach a very similar process or a piece of it. Okay, some programs might just teach 1 or 2 pieces. How to set up your website if you're taking a course for lawyers that's brand new. You're brand new to opening your own practice. There's courses that will help you get your website set up, help you get malpractice insurance, why to join a BNI. We talk about all of these things in 2HLL, obviously, because you need a website and you need malpractice, and you should be joining a BNI because you're going to get business from it. But again, that's something that our program teaches. A large community. Most of these programs have got some kind of an ongoing community, whether it's 50 lawyers or whether it's 1,000 lawyers, there's going to be some group that you're now a part of. And then ongoing support, generally a paid membership, and maybe even a public-facing lawyer directory, okay? So any of the programs or the memberships or whatever that you're researching is going to include most of this, okay? So what we're not really comparing, in my opinion, and again, my opinion is as an estate planning attorney in New York City who's been practicing for 10 years, perfect 5-star rating. I've taken every coaching program out there, and I'm now running my own coaching program, okay? So this is my opinion, but it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one. Most of these programs are teaching the same stuff. So I wouldn't focus too much on the content. I would instead focus on some of the other things that I'm going to point out today, because I think that these are the most important considerations for you as a consumer to be making a good, fair buying decision, knowing that whichever program you enroll in is going to do a pretty good job teaching you the basics. All right, what are we? We're 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer, only 3 years old. I'm super proud of what we've built, and what I'm really proud of are the 550 plus lawyers who've taken the course and are out there implementing and doing the hard work and making progress, taking big steps. That's who I'm most proud of. Okay, but we've built a pretty great community, a pretty great course, and we market this as the complete system to a profitable, remember we said profit and revenue, 2 different things, profitable, flexible estate planning practice that you can run from anywhere. And you're building your own brand, your own systems, your own AI trust footprints. We haven't spoken a lot about that yet. We're going to speak about it a little bit more as we go. These are the things that are important to us. And you know what? These things change over time. When I launched the business 3 years ago and you had said, what is your AI trust footprints? Obviously, none of us knew what that was 3 years ago. I don't even know if it existed 3 years ago. Now, in the summer of 2025 and going forward, what we've learned is your AI trust footprint is pretty darn important. And it's now a major factor that you need to be considering as a consumer when you're looking at these different programs. Okay, that's why I mention it, not just to brag. I'm very proud of the fact that we talk a lot about AI and 2HLL, and I'm making sure that everything I know, I'm sharing with the lawyers so they can build their own independent firm and their own independent trust footprints. I'm very proud of that because I think it's a major issue, not like it's a problem, but it's something that you all need to know about. And I wouldn't have made a big fuss about this even 6 months ago because it wasn't as much of a deal 6 months ago, but now it is. And so I'm putting it up on the slides. This is what's important to us now. Who knows in a year, who knows what we'll be saying. Things are changing so fast. But in any event, one of the things that separates us, knowing that we're going to give you all of the content, is that true independence. You're going to be owning your brand. You're going to be owning your copy, your website. You're going to be owning your own AI trust footprint, and that really matters today. Everything is proven. Everything that we teach in the course, I'm a practicing estate planning attorney. I serve 4 to 5 clients per month, and that's it. I've got a wait list because I only serve 4 to 5, so I consistently know I'm going to be getting 4 to 5 clients per month. And everything that I learn as I'm out there learning about AI and taking all the different courses and implementing everything, I share with my students. So if something's not working anymore, that worked 2 years ago, that worked 6 years ago, that worked in 2015 when I started, I'm going to make sure my students are the first people to hear about that. This no longer makes sense as a practicing attorney. Let's all shift our focus. So everything is proven. Flexibility and freedom. Nothing matters more then flexibility and freedom. And I'm not just talking about, oh, I can now leave at 2 o'clock to pick up my kids from school. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about flexible. And of course that matters. You want to leave at 2 o'clock to get the kids. That's great. Okay. But what I'm really pointing out here is we're helping you build a law firm that is really independent and yours, because that's what's going to get you the trust in public and on AI going forward. It's not going to be tethered to somebody else's brand. That's not going to help you in 2026 and going forward. Okay, so this is a profitable practice that's fitting your life, not someone else's model. Here's 5 questions that you should ask. All right, these are 5. There's 100. I don't have time for all of them, but these are 5 things that I think that you should be thinking about as you're researching which of these programs. Number 1, what happens when I leave? All right, so most of these courses are a one-time course, and you get a bunch of stuff in that one-time course, and you've paid for that. And now you've got these materials, you've got these concepts, you've got these marketing ideas, you've got a whole bunch of stuff that you paid for. You'd think you'd be able to keep it, right? Well, that's not always the case, okay? So we give you everything in our virtual estate planning blueprint. That's the name of the course. Fee sheets, materials, etc., concepts, ideas, what works, what doesn't, scripts, all of that. You get it for life. It's that simple. You can leave at the end of the course and just take it with you. Other programs ask you to turn everything in when you leave. And so that means you're no longer allowed to use the scripts, the marketing copy, the blogs, the fee sheets. In many cases, you're not even allowed to make your own derivative fee sheet, because according to the competitor, that's actually theirs, okay? So really the question to ask here is, what happens when I leave? What can I take? What can I not take? I'd like to know that now before I sign the check. The scary thing about this is that oftentimes you're required to turn a bunch of this stuff back in after paying tens of thousands of dollars. So it's really, I think it's a real consumer protection issue. Can I get a refund if I'm not happy? All right, let me tell you about what happens at 2HLL. We've had 560 plus lawyers take the course. I say the same thing on every single sales call, and I will continue to say the same thing on every single sales call. If you're not happy, just tell us and we'll give you your money back. The reason I do this, there's a few reasons. Number 1, it's the right thing to do. That should be enough, okay? That should be enough, but I've got more reasons. Number 2, it's just not worth my time as a business owner, to be completely honest, chasing people down and arguing with people over refunds. We price the course, it's affordable. We price it accordingly. And we tell everyone from the beginning, if you're not happy with what we teach, or if you're not happy, just let us know, we'll give you your money back. Because I've got bigger fish to fry than to be getting in arguments about this. So instead, what I do is I just offer a refund. 4 people have asked for it, 4 people have gotten it. Moving on. Other programs, there's no refunds at all. You sign the check, you're done. There's not going to be any option of getting your money back, no matter how happy you are. Okay, so that's something that separates us apart, that sets us apart and separates us from our competitors. What about the feedback? What kind of feedback are you allowed to leave? We don't have our members sign any kind of a contract that says they're not allowed to disparage us or leave a bad review if they're not happy. That's just the end of it. If you're not happy, let us know. We'll certainly try to fix it, but there's nothing in the contract that says you're not allowed to go online and say, I took the course, I didn't really like it. Okay, you're allowed to do that. We hope that you don't. We hope that you come to us and let us fix the problem, but we're not going to legally and contractually stop you from doing it, okay? I know that if I bought a course and I spent a bunch of money on it, I would want the right to be able to say, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't. So that's what we do with our members as well. Some of our competitors have a non-disparagement clause. It's in the contract and it's enforced. So you should ask yourself, do I want to join a program where I'm not going to be able to say what I think about it when I leave? Is the business compliant? Fully transparent and compliant? That's what we're doing. There's nothing to hide. We're not hiding anything. We're trying to run the most transparent business possible, the most ethical business possible. Some of our competitors have some ongoing compliance questions under franchise and consumer protection laws. Okay, so you need to know about this. You need to know about this because you're going to be a consumer and you're going to be affected by whatever happens with the business that you're enrolling in. Okay, so just know, we're compliant. We try to do everything on the up and up. And then here's question number 5, and I'm putting this in because if the people listening to this call, you may not have any idea what I'm talking about. You probably don't, some of you. But now is the time to learn because this is going to impact you going forward. Okay, so will this course help my AI trust footprint? What the heck is an AI trust footprint? Let me just take a step back here and talk about why this is such a big deal. I'm old enough to remember back in the day when businesses promoted their business in the Yellow Pages. That was what we had. We had a big phone book and the Yellow Pages were for businesses. And that's how you went and you figured out, who do I want to hire? Okay, I remember that. That was pre-internet. We didn't have the internet. We had the Yellow Pages. And that was how businesses advertised. And then maybe you had billboards and, you had your local newsletter, your local newspaper. This is how it was for many years. Okay, that all went away when the internet came around. And the internet came around and now it's like, oh, we're not looking in the newspaper anymore. We're not asking the neighbor or, looking at a billboard. I'm now going online to this thing called the internet. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. And in the beginning, there was a whole bunch of stuff on the internet that was good and it wasn't like overwhelming. Well, now it's there, it's overwhelming. I just think of it as like an ocean full of garbage, to be honest. There's a few things on there that are really good, and there's a lot of things that are really helpful, but there's so much out there that's just harmful that I think people just don't know where to look anymore. So what's happening is, for a long time, people would go, I need a good estate planning lawyer near me, and they'd Google it. We all know. How many years has Google been around? 15, 20 years. We know what it means to Google something. Okay, that was how we found out in the beginning. Well, that's all changed virtually overnight. And I think it's only going to exponentially change the other way. And so the other way is SEO. It still matters a little bit today because that's what's feeding into the AI models. But it's going away. It's going to be like a dinosaur. And the new place to show up as a business owner who is respected, trusted, helpful, has good reviews, etc., is going to be recommended by AI. If you're not aware the difference between these two things, it used to be you just went into Google and you Googled something and a bunch of pages popped up just depending on how much money they'd thrown, frankly, how much money they had thrown at the SEO engines to get at the top of the pile. And additionally, how much money they've, maybe thrown at changing the algorithm and putting out content. You could kind of maneuver what was said about you on Google by kind of, gaming the system a little bit, throwing more money at SEO so you pop up higher. That's fine. That was what we did for years, and that's what businesses do, and that's fine. But now what's happening is your consumers, your clients are no longer just going on to Google. They're now going on to ChatGPT. And I'm going to ask all of you at the end of this call to go into ChatGPT and to kind of see how it works. And instead of, they're going to ask the same question. They're going to say, who's a good estate planning lawyer near me? But instead of getting a list that pops up just based solely on how much money those particular lawyers had to spend on SEO, well, now instead it combs the internet, every corner of it, and it pulls together everything that's known about your question. And then it gives a recommendation based on what it concludes. And what it's concluding is it's based on the information that's already out there. It's somewhere online. What we didn't have until recently was a way to aggregate it and to summarize it in a way that made sense. Now AI does that for us in a heartbeat. So this is a gift. This is a gift because if you want your community to know how great you are, well, assuming you've been doing certain things, you're now going to be reflected positively by AI. Your AI trust footprint is going to be trustworthy because that's the main thing. And even more importantly, it's going to be yours. This is the next thing that I'm going to get at. So you want to be building an AI trust footprint that says, oh, you need a good estate planning lawyer near New York? Laura Cowan is great. And here's why. And they're going to be pulling from not just my reviews, but what people have said about me on Reddit, if anything. The different platforms. They're going to be pulling from all over. They're going to be pulling from what I have said in various articles. Have I been quoted? Am I quoted? Do I have the expertise, the experience, the authority, the trustworthiness? EAT, EEAT. That's what it's called. You guys should all be reading about EAT. They're going to look at all of that. And then they're going to say, here's a good one, Laura Cowan. And that's a good thing if you have positive things said about you and you've got a very strong footprint that shows you as an authority in your space. Okay, that's very important in 2025 and going forward. I'm spending a lot of my time in a lot of my business, in all of my businesses, making sure that I show up recommended on AI. The way to do that for estate planning lawyers and lawyers in general, you've got to build an independent, unique digital presence that's 100% yours. The downside to going with a national brand for your coaching is that now your entire online presence is going to be tied not to your business, but to somebody else's. And that's going to be a problem if and when, well, it's going to be a problem while you're a part of the national brand, because every day you're building their experience, expertise, authority, trustworthiness, and you're not building your own, because everything that you do as a law firm owner is tied to that national brand. So you're building their AI trust footprint, not yours. And that's going to be an even bigger problem when you leave. And now you've got to redo all your blogs. You've got to change your website copy. You've got to undo everything that you did. AI is going to look at that and say, why is this person redoing all their SEO? Why are they taking everything down? They keep track of that. And it doesn't ruin, but it's going to lower your trustworthy score. It's going to impact your AI trust footprint. Okay, this is something that I would not have been sharing with the community even 6 months ago, because it wasn't something that was kind of relevant 6 months ago. It's relevant now. Okay, it's relevant now, and it's going to continue to be relevant in the future. So that's why I'm harping on it, because I want you on the call and the lawyers on this call who are making decisions to know this is something you need to be deciding. This is something you need to know about. It's no longer just, oh, how much do you cost and what happens when I leave and some other random question. The question now needs to include, how much do you cost? What happens when I leave? And are you going to help me build my AI trust footprint? Those are the questions you need to be asking today. So this is a very long way of saying the content is going to be similar no matter which program you enroll in. I can speak from experience, 10 years of practicing estate planning law. I know that the content is similar. There's only so many ways to teach this, okay? So what you're really looking for is your due diligence on the contract, your rights as a consumer, your due diligence on which group are you going to feel comfortable in, right? There's a whole bunch of different things that you should be thinking about. Let me give you 5 questions to ask when you're looking at different coaching programs. These are things that you should ask, okay? And I'm talking specifically about estate planning. Although I suppose that these would be, I sell an estate planning course, so that's what I'm referring to. This is probably valuable no matter what, program you're interested in. Ask about the refund and cancellation policies. Here's the exact question. What are the refund and cancellation policies, and what do former members say about how easy they are to use in practice? And how is this going to affect my practice if I enroll in this course? Okay. ChatGPT is going to do a nice job of summarizing that program's refund and cancellation policies, which are available on the internet. So it's going to bring those in to its answer. And then they're going to aggregate all of the different answers and they're going to give you a response. And then you can decide whatever the response is from ChatGPT. You can decide, do I care about this in my buying decision? Yes or no? Maybe the answer is no. I'm not here to tell you that you should care about what the answer is, but rather to point out these are questions that you should be asking, because this is the fastest way to aggregate information that's going to be important for you as a buyer. Ask question number 2, does this program have any obligations that would make it operate like a franchise? And if so, is it registered as one? And how will this affect my law practice if I enroll? Okay, a franchise is a business defined by the FTC that has a monthly payment of at least $500, the right to use their trademarks, and provides significant assistance, or is optional. There's significant assistance there. Okay, those are the 3 rules, right? So if you're thinking of investing in a business that offers those 3 things but isn't giving you a franchise disclosure document, you should ask why. Okay, question number 3, how does this program handle non-disparagement or confidentiality clauses? Am I free to leave honest reviews if I'm unhappy? And how is this going to affect my law practice after I enroll? You should ask, am I going to be able to leave a bad review if I'm unhappy at the end of all of this? see what ChatGPT says and ask them. When I say them, I mean the LLM models that be, right? Ask them how it's going to affect your practice, okay? Because that's ultimately the decision here. You're making decisions that are going to affect your law practice, your family, everything. So you need to know how this buying decision is going to potentially affect those things. Question number 4, how does this program handle non-disparagement and confidentiality clauses? I just went over that. So let's go to question number 5. What do independent reviews, Reddit, blogs, lawyer forums say about the actual earnings and results as compared to the promises made in marketing? And how is this going to affect my law practice if I enroll? Okay, what we're talking about here is if you're interested in a certain program because you've seen some dollar amounts dropped, make at least $100,000, triple your revenue. We promise, we guarantee a $100,000 boost in your practice. Okay, those are earnings claims. And there's laws around earnings claims. Okay, so you need to know what the law is and do the research. Is the earning claim, is it supported by what's actually happening with your members? And is it contractually solid? In other words, if you're really guaranteeing that I'm going to make an extra, $100,000, is that in the contract? Or is the exact opposite in the contract? Something that says we actually don't guarantee that you're going to earn a penny. Okay. I think that most people would be interested in knowing that it's not guaranteed you're actually going to earn anything, despite the fact that we've been dangling these really big numbers. Okay, so that's the 5th question you have to ask. There is a ton of potential in this area, and there's a lot of programs out there that are really there to help you. They're there to put you in front of a community of your colleagues and be there for you when you have questions or scared or worried, just want to feel like you're not alone. 2-Hour Lifestyle Lawyer is one of them, and I'm really, really proud of what we have built. We have been around for just 3 years, but in that time, we've served over 550 lawyers, and we're getting ready to enroll our fall 2025 cohort in about a month. So you should all be ready for that to drop. We've got 33 spots available, just 33 spots. Eight have already been taken, or 7 rather. My math is wrong. 32 spots available out of 40. So what are we going to do this fall? This fall, we're going to start off with learn how to build your virtual first estate planning practice. So this fall, the lawyers that join our community, first of all, they're going to get our virtual estate planning blueprint, which is our signature course, A to Z roadmap from beginning, getting the client in the door, all the way down to they engage, they hire, they draft, they design, they get everything signed. Now they're going to enroll in your client maintenance program. That's what our virtual estate planning blueprint course is about. And that drops September 15th. It's an on-demand 1-month course. And then what happens after is you're going to be joining us for 8 weeks of live momentum and accountability calls. So everything that you learn in the course, you're going to bring to the momentum calls, the accountability calls. We're going to make sure that you hit your milestones. And your milestones are going to be dependent on whether you're a brand new estate planning lawyer and you're still getting your first estate plan drafted, or maybe you're getting your very first client, or you've been doing this for a while, but what we're teaching is now allowing you to charge more, be more profitable, and work fewer hours. So there's milestones that we want you to hit. And that's what those 2 months of momentum accountability calls are going to be a part of. So it's a 3-month program, and we talk a lot more about it in the calls. We're enrolling now for our fall 2025 cohort. So if you're interested, book a call. I'm going to drop the link into this YouTube video section, and you'll be able to book a call. And let's see what we have next. Next is just a thank you. We can't wait to welcome you to our community. I think that this is a really, really fun time to be a lawyer. And one of the things that I think is so fun about it, even within 2HLL, which is estate planning lawyers, and then you've got, some of them practice business law as well, or personal injury, and a lot of them are entrepreneurs in their own capacity. This is the community part of it, though. And I think this is what is really, really important, finding the right community, just finding a group of lawyers that practice with you, like you, have the same values, the same goals. Our community is, here are some of the things that I'm proud of. I'm not just proud of the fact that there's over 550 lawyers in it, and that number is just going to continue to grow. I'm proud of the fact that there are no mean people in our community. Okay, I wouldn't allow it. You're in the Facebook group. You want to ask a stupid question, you ask a stupid question. The number of stupid questions I have asked in my life are too many to count, okay? This is not a place where you feel silly asking a stupid question. This is a place where you're going to be supported, encouraged. We're going to cheer you on. And if that means cheering you on because you signed your first $25,000 estate plan, someone who's got a lot of taxable issues, congratulations. But we're also going to cheer on the person who got their first client for $2,000 for a basic will. And they now know that they're not stuck with a W-2 job for the rest of their lives. Okay? That's what the community is about. We're going to cheer on your accomplishments, big and small. And I frankly think getting your first client after many years of working for someone else, that is not something to sneeze at. I think that's as big of an accomplishment, in my opinion, as earning your first million. Because earning your first million, it's doable once you figure out how to get the first client. But until you've gotten that first client, you're not going to be ready to earn the first million. So we really, really congratulate and applaud the things that seem small, or they're not as sexy or, flashy. I've got a $3 million law firm. That's great. We're going to applaud you when you get your $3 million practice, but we're also going to applaud the lawyer who just signed their first client and everybody in between. The other thing I'm proud about our community, besides the fact that it's welcoming, it's nurturing, there's no politics in the community, we leave all of that out. Everybody is welcome in our community, regardless of anything outside of that, okay? So this is a community full of people that are supporting each other, and we really try to keep any negativity out, toxicity. None of that is welcome at 2HLL. We're here to support each other and to help each other. So if you're interested in learning more about estate planning, joining our community, getting your first client, or having a better system, better process in place, that's what we're here for. We can't wait to welcome you. Message me at laura@2hourlifestylelawyer.com if you have questions, you want to hop on a call, or I'll drop the link as well. And I'll finish by saying, if you're on the call and you're not interested in estate planning, that's fine too. There's a lot of resources that we're going to be building out for lawyers outside of the estate planning community as well. So hopefully you'll find a place within 2HLL that helps you be a better law firm owner and a better parent, a better brother, sister, daughter, friend, everything. So you can take what we teach and the values that we have at 2HLL and share it. Pay it forward is what I would say. Pay it forward. That's what we want you to do. So that's all that I have for today. I hope everyone found this interesting, and I hope that you are ready now to go make really good decisions about which coach is the best for you. Thanks, everyone.